Hi, I'm John Williamson. I'm here with this video to speak about how you can build a great credit score with little effort. This could be if you've just turned 18 and you need that information, you don't want to feel like it's a big burden. This is the simple way, the low effort way to improve your credit score without having to take a lot of time researching it or put a lot of effort into that sort of process. It's important to start caring about your credit score as soon as possible, as early as possible. This doesn't have to be a big change where you're suddenly setting up loads of systems. Just a few small changes and taking your time with those changes. It could be spread over a couple months. Just starting as soon as possible makes a big difference in the long term because your credit score is all about building up a credit history. Once you've built up that credit history, your credit score is nice and set up. It's all ready. There's no problems you have to deal with. Everything's fine. Everything's perfect for if you're applying for a house, for a mortgage, if you're working on applying for more credit cards, if you want to apply for credits or loans for businesses or some form of investment. That is important to have set up way in advance, 10 years before you need it. You can't set up a credit score when you need it and get it to a level that is going to be the best place you could have had it at. Just putting in 1% effort over years of time makes a huge difference compared to putting in no effort at all. The gap between 0 effort and 1% effort is huge, especially over the long term when it comes to your credit score. By the time you need a house, by the time you want a nice car and you need a loan for it, these loans need a credit score that has been set up for a long time. You will still likely be able to get a lot of these loans, but it will be so much more expensive if you haven't set up your credit score. And if you have a terrible credit score and you've completely put no effort into it by the time you're 30, then you actually might struggle to get a mortgage or struggle to get a lot of loans. I mean, there's some cases where you might even struggle to get a monthly phone contract if your credit score is that bad. So working on your credit score now and slowly building it up is the best option. It's the best choice. It's important to start doing. For me, the easiest way that I've found to do this and the simplest thing that I use is Credit Karma. This is a website that I used. I was procrastinating with my credit score. I was leaving it for a long time after I turned 18. I left it for a few months. I thought it was this big headache. I didn't understand credit scores. I thought it didn't really matter. I could just put it off. But whether that's true or not, I think it's a lot more important than I was originally thinking. Whether that's true or not, getting a Credit Karma account made it very easy for me to simply just make little improvements to my credit score. They cut it down into all the different sections to improve your score and to keep on top of your score. If anything happens, like I was going to say missing a payment, but that should never happen. Never miss a payment on any form of loan or anything that you have. That is the rule number 1 of your credit score or any form of debt. Never miss a payment. But if there's any sort of change in how much you're using your credit card, or if there's a change in your accounts or your housing address or something that shouldn't be there, some sort of administrative error happens, that'll let you know. Some sort of glitch happens or anything like that. But most importantly, if you haven't put any effort into your credit score at all, Credit Karma is a great website. There's many websites like that one. This isn't paid promotion for Credit Karma at all. I mean, this is my 3rd video, but Credit Karma is the one I use. I can stand behind them as being very simple and very easy to understand. It takes something that, for me, for a long time has been a smoke cloud of lack of information and no clear education or understanding about it. And it puts it into these simple boxes, these simple things that you have to register for being a voter. That matters to your credit score. You have to have some sort of credit account for a long time. This can be really useful to know for somebody who's young in their teens, because if you have a phone contract, or if your parents are paying for your phone contract or your car insurance, adding that onto your name and your bank account, even if they're still paying for it, they can run the money into your bank account. Putting that in your name really matters towards your credit score because it builds up a credit account that you have that the longer you have that for, it becomes what's called your longest credit account. And it doesn't matter what type of credit that is. It doesn't matter if it's a credit card or a washing machine or a mobile phone. If you have that for a long period of time, that counts as showing that you can consistently make payments, which matters when you're applying for a bigger loan later on in life. That history is why right now is the time to start focusing on it. If you still aren't feeling like making an account with Credit Karma after hearing about how simple it is, I'm not sure why. There are some people who you might actually not even be able to make a Credit Karma account if you have no credit history at all. It's worth checking always. There's a link down in the description for the Credit Karma website. But here are my 5 tips and my simple steps for improving your credit score and starting out with your credit score if you've never thought about it before. The first one, as I mentioned, is to make sure you're registered to vote. Registering to vote is important for democracy and for voting, but as somebody who doesn't necessarily care that much about politics, I understand why you might not want to until the next big election or something important comes along. Your credit score is a good reason to start. It's a simple process, very easy. Do that first. That's your first step. That'll get a nice little bit of progress. That'll be one little small bit of effort you can do. One little afternoon, 1 week. If you want to drag this out so that that's a month, that does the job. If you just start, just start. Like I mentioned, move your phone or car insurance or anything that is a contracted payment into your name and in your bank account if your parents are paying for that. If your parents have that all dealt with, make sure that's just coming out of your bank account and out of your name. It'll make a difference to your standing overall later on. The next step is the one that is the main big step, which is getting a credit card. This is important. This is just an important step for becoming an adult. Getting a credit card is a good exercise in personal finance and just keeping on top of your money. If you can handle a credit card when you're young, there's not likely to be this ability to borrow £6,000 or £10,000 or dollars or any huge amount of money. You're likely only going to get, my credit card that I was given has a credit limit of £1,600 on it. That is a nice amount of money, but that's not a life-changing. If I went and spent that and messed up with it and did some bad decisions or used the wrong card or something, that wouldn't be a huge issue like it could be if you aren't trained in it later on in life. So getting a credit card is very good. The best way to start with getting a credit card is to get a zero interest rate credit card. This is useful because it means that this isn't going to be forever. You're going to get a zero interest rate offer that will start, for example, Nationwide has a zero interest rate for the first 15 months of owning the card. This means that you can have any sort of borrowing amount on the card and you won't get charged any expensive interest rate payments over time. This is useful, as we'll speak about in the next point, because zero interest rate cards are the best way to build your score, to build a system that helps you build your score, where you start off, basically the next step, this has all been kind of boring so far, it's been very technical information. The next step is to start shopping, because this starts to use up your credit utilization. If you have a credit card and you don't spend any money on it, you're not really proving to the banks that you can actually handle a loan and keep making consistent payments and stay organized with it. If you don't use that card, they don't have any proof that you've been good at handling your money at all. So use that card, but make sure you use 25% of your credit limit. So for example, my credit limit is £1,600. So I divide that by 4, get 25%, that is £400. So if I spend money on my credit card, I want to definitely not have nothing on my credit card. I want to have £300 to £400 spent. You don't want to pass that 25%, but you want to get right up close to that 25%, and that's the best way to just build your score over time and to prove that you have an ability to organize yourself to keep on top of those payments and to make sure you never miss a payment, because that is the absolute golden rule when it comes to credit scores and debt and credit cards and everything, is never miss a payment. Because missing a payment, something as simple as the £25 minimum when it comes to something like Nationwide, and that's a fairly standard minimum payment, something like that can be very harmful to your credit score for years. It takes 3 years, I think, for that to disappear from your credit file. Just missing a payment. And with a lot of bank accounts these days and a lot of credit cards these days, it's very easy to set up a direct debit that, as long as it's coming out of an account that has more than £25 in it, you'll never have to think about that yourself. I mean, I don't have to remember it. I'm a terribly forgetful person. Luckily, I don't have to remember it because it just automatically comes out of my account. This system of having some money sitting there, and I actually personally have a savings account that covers the exact amount of the credit card so that I don't have to, I'm not actually spending or borrowing money really. I mean, I'm borrowing the money, but I have the money sitting there right next to it to pay it off, because I personally don't really like being in any form of debt apart from to build a credit score. If you're somebody that's out there that doesn't like having any form of debt like I do, unless you really need it for an emergency, that's the best place to really use a credit card, is in an emergency. I'm not a big fan of using a credit card to shop outside of this strategy. If you're like me, who doesn't like debt, this is still a good reason to use a credit card. Even if you don't have a zero interest rate credit card, or after that zero interest rate runs out, after the 15 months runs out with the Nationwide example, you can just use your card and then pay it off every month. You're not going to probably not going to spend £400 a month on a card. Maybe you will, or if you have a higher credit limit, you're probably not going to reach 25%, but just using it for any form of purchases that you're making, using your credit card and then paying it off with your bank account within the same month, so that you're not getting charged expensive interest rates for those purchases, still makes a lot of sense. It still helps to build your credit score. It's a little bit more effort than just using your debit card, but that little bit of effort goes a long way over time. This is about just putting in a little bit of effort over a long period of time. You spread that out. It's like brushing your teeth. You wouldn't notice if you stopped brushing your teeth for a week. You probably wouldn't notice if you brushed your teeth after that week. There wouldn't be some sort of structural damage. But give it 10 years of not brushing your teeth, you would notice. You'd look like a meth head. And brushing your teeth similarly for 10 years will look a lot better after 10 years. That's where building a credit score is similar to that. You give it 2 minutes every day, or 2 minutes twice a day, and that level of effort is enough to keep your credit score safe. You might actually just catch the bug for seeing that number grow. I know that I really just want to work out different ways that I can make my Credit Karma number grow, especially if you have an account on a website like that. Seeing that number and thinking, okay, how can I grow this? When you log in and it says raise 17 points, that feels great. If it says minus 9 points, like mine does, and I'm not even sure why, nothing has changed on the score. I think it's possibly because I've slightly lowered in that credit utilization category, the 25% category, because it's been paying off with the minimum payment. But other than that, nothing's changed. So sometimes it just changes slightly. I mean, 9 points is not huge, but sometimes it just changes slightly and it can't be explained. But the general movement has been, I've gained 50, 60 points, I think. Maybe 40, 56 points. Just doing simple changes like the ones I spoke about. So you might catch the bug like that. It's almost like a game at that point. If not, and you're just trying to improve your credit score and you're just trying to do some things, I hope this video has changed your view on if you weren't feeling like caring about your credit score. I also hope that if you are sitting here and you've looked for your credit score and you're trying to work out different ways to make it simple, I hope it has provided that. I hope you're not as worried about it being hard work as you were before. It can be simple, painless, especially with a website like Credit Karma. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you took value from this video. I hope you enjoyed it. It's difficult to enjoy a credit score video, but I hope maybe somehow I've made it enjoyable. If not, then I will try and make the other videos less technical and more enjoyable. But this is something important that to me is very easy to make a big change on. So I felt I should talk about it. And if it was going to be my 20th video or something, I wouldn't have been as motivated to do it. So I just wanted to get it out of the way. Thank you very much for watching. I've been John Williamson, and I will see you in the next one.